Hi Jane, how are you?
Hi everyone. Sorry about the little technical issues there, but
That's all right.
I always get my knickers in a twist when I'm looking at them. And it's quite a while since I've done one, isn't it, John? So I've kind of
It is.
lost.
It
Yeah.
is. We had a bit of a break because you were working on a new book, I think, weren't you?
Yes, that's right. I'm well into it now. So anyway, hello everyone, and thanks for joining me today. And the painting I've chosen to do today with you is called Summer Meadow because um, we've got this dreadful wet weather, and I thought to myself, let's cheer ourselves up and have some lovely bright colours and do a uplifting painting. So it's a very, very simple painting. It's done wet in wet, which is normally the way I work. And I just made it up. I haven't got a photograph of the scene or anything like that. And it's just, I wanted to talk to you as well about creating, using the colours to create distance, and what colours to use in the background to shove the background back and bring together in the foreground the most important thing that we're looking at, so that you get that sense of depth. And it's the only thing I've painted really is the cow parsley. So it's all mark making. And when I say mark making, it just means just some little suggestions of plants and flowers and foliage, and suggestions of distant land going back there. I don't know what's back there, but it looks okay. And it looks like it's receding into the background, and that's what we want. So I just thought, this is a good exercise to discuss what colours go back and what colours come forward. And it's always the cool colours that go back and create distance and depth. And the warmer, more vibrant colours you must use if you've got, you're concentrating on the foreground. But not all colours are, I always say, friendly to one another, because if I don't know if you know the colour wheel. This is in my first book that came out. This is a colour wheel. And so basically, please excuse me if you know this, just like that, but some people don't. A colour wheel shows you what colour shows each other off. So red, the opposite of red is green. So if I put red and green together in a painting, they'll make each other zing. The same with purple and yellow. They really show each other off. And orange and blue. So the way to remember it is, I always think of holly berries, green leaves and red berries. And that sets me off so that I get all the other colours right. But the thing to remember is these colours do show each other off really well. But when they mingle with one another, they make a nasty colour. So if you put a red next to a green on a painting and let it run in when you're working wet in wet, the colour that it will form is a muddy colour. So that's what I'm trying to explain in this painting. I thought it was a good exercise for me to show you a way around that. And so I'll just do that on a piece of paper and talk about the colours that I'm going to use. And really, there's no set colours. It's up to you. You can use what colours you like. Whatever workshops I do, I suggest colours, but don't think you've got to buy the exact ones. But I always tell you what I'm using. When we start, I'll say probably an olive green. I won't say what make of olive green, because it's not important. It's not that type of painting where it has to be exact. So today I'm using an olive green, and it's a Shinhan colour. I'll just get them out for you. So that's that one. And I'm using an intense violet, which is an SAA one, and an ultramarine, French ultramarine, which everyone usually has in their kit. That's an SAA one, but I use any French ultramarine. I haven't got a favourite. And I'm using a tropical phthalo blue. Now, a turquoise, or just say a cobalt blue or just another lighter blue will be fine. You know, it's not important that you have to get the same one. And one colour I do suggest you buy if you feel like treating yourself is Lunar Blue by Daniel Smith, because that's so good for everything. And then I've got Leaf Green, a lovely vibrant green by Shinhan. And I've got a bright yellow, which is Cadmium Lemon by the SAA. And that's it. So what I want to show you is on a scrap piece of paper. If I just wet it, because we are working wet in wet. So when you test your colours, you must test them wet in wet. So if I just wet the paper, and we've got Intense Violet, which is an SAA colour, I'll be using that. So in this painting, I've got violet at the front to suggest some purple flowers or whatever. Now, if I put my yellow next to that violet, you'll see what happens. So let's run it in. Can you see that really yucky, muddy colour it's making? And that's what opposites on the colour wheel, that's what happens. You know, it makes not an attractive colour. So you need a friendly colour. So they're not friends, but we need one that's friends to both of them. Well, what's friends to both of them is blue, because if blue it's yellow, it'll make green. And if it hits the violet, it'll just make a darker violet. So that's the way we get round it when we apply the paint. Like that, I'm just adding some ultramarine in there. So now that's made a green, and that's just made a darker violet. So we need to make sure where we put the colours. It looks like it is a loose painting, but it's had some thought before I started it on, you know, as to what colours I would be placing where. So, so when I'm putting this violet on here, I will add some blue near it to get the leaf green. If I'm adding leaf green or olive green, I always kind of get a bit of blue in between that, and then it keeps the colours nice and fresh. And then in the background, you know, this Lunar Blue is a lovely granulating grey blue, so that's ideal for the background colour, because and also we keep it really soft, because soft edges go back, hard edges come forward. And that's a really good thing to remember when you're painting. So I start by adding some of the Lunar Blue, and then I'll add a little touch of tropical phthalo turquoise. No, sorry, tropical phthalo blue, just to give it a little bit of interest, and then the odd little bit of green. And then I work my way forward, adding more green, and we get down to the bright colours at the bottom. So I'm just mixing up the colours. I've mixed a few up already, and we'll get going. So if you're painting along with me, now's a good time to get some colours mixed up. Because we're working wet in wet, your colours need to be the consistency of single cream. If we were working straight onto the paper, you could have a little thinner consistency than that, because you're working on dry paper, whereas when you're working on wet paper, they'll dilute a little bit even more, you know, when you put the colours on, because your paper's wet. So if you like to mix some colours up, and I'll just get mine done, and then we can all have a go.
And Annette said, is it okay to use pan colours? Of course, just use whatever you want, whatever you've got to hand.
I mean, this Intense Violet, that's all I've got left, you know, whether or not I'll buy any more, because you can just mix a blue and a pink. It was just in my kit, and I thought, oh, I'll use that up. And that's the way to look at colours, you know, unless we all have our favourites, but the ones, you know, that aren't particularly favourites, there's always an alternative.
Now, Shifali's asked, how are your colours so vibrant, Jane? Is it the make, do you think, of all the paints that you've actually used?
No, it's not. I think it's how I put them on. I don't make them too wishy-washy by adding too much water, or I probably, you know, mix them to, like I say, the consistency of single cream. Because some of the paints I've just outlined are some of the cheapest you can get.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm paying, you know, having the top class paints. I do use some of those, but I still have my favourites in the cheaper versions, you know. So I think it's just the thickness of the paint. You get used to it, how thick to have your paint and how wet to have your paper. And
I guess so long as you're using that colour wheel methodology and putting the colours that relate to each other, then they, as you say, they make them pop.
Yeah, exactly. That's how important the colour wheel is, you know, for everyone to, I mean, in art books, I used to be the same. You skip the first 2 chapters because it's all boring stuff about colours and brushes and paints and perspective and all things like that. And I think, oh no, I just want to get to the nice pictures, you know. But it is important that you do know some rules. So, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
So, right, I'll apply some paint. What I'm going to do, we're not doing any drawing at all, with a nice big brush.
Now you're working flat here, aren't you, Jane?
Yes, I'm working flat. I'm going to just wet the top of the... Oh, good, you can see that. I think it's shining, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, now Chris said, I'm not familiar with the term single cream because she's American, so I don't know quite what the
okay.
The term.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, someone else said that to me actually. So, it's you get 2 in the UK anyway. We have 2 creams: a single cream and a double cream. And single cream is more or less what you just pour in your coffee or pour on things, but the thicker cream is what we whisk up, you know, when you have it cream whisked up. So it's if you do have 2 thicknesses of cream, go for the thinner one.
Yes.
That's the best way I can describe.
Best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Oh, Bobby said yogurt. Well, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, bit thinner than yogurt.
Yeah.
Then we'll be getting on to what make of yogurt.
Oh, Carol said think half and half in the US. There we go.
Yeah, I think it is, isn't it? Yeah, I can remember now. So I'm just wetting along there and up that side. I'm keeping that area dry, okay? So, and I'm not saturating it through. You know, sometimes I have it even wetter, but because I'm using the purple at the bottom with some vibrant colours next to it, I will add some blue in between them, but I don't want it really running, you know, running down into one another. So, right, and then I'm going to pick up the Lunar Blue and just gently come along like that and something like that, okay? And when I say about, you know, the greyish, more subtle colours go back, they do, but something I do is just add a little pop of something in there, and it still goes back, but it just makes it more interesting, you know. So that's where the tropical phthalo blue comes in. We've got that many names to remember, haven't we? Hold on, I've got to find the tropical phthalo blue brush. I tend to have a different brush for every colour. Now, the tropical phthalo blue, I've made it a little bit waterier, more just like full cream milk rather than single cream. And I'm just popping a little bit in there like that. I just wanted something to lift it slightly, and I think that's enough. And we wet that in a little while. We do wet that area again and get it to bleed a little bit. So now I'm coming down into the olive green, just adding a little touch of, I'm just working my way down, getting more natural colours towards the front of the painting and more grey blues towards the back. But I will keep adding a touch of Lunar Blue here and there. And I'm just thinking, I'm kind of scrumbling little hilly bits, and that's what's going through my mind. You know, there's no set way of doing it really, and each painting that we do today will come out differently, because you can't repeat this to be exact. Like I can't get mine exact like I did for the one that you've got a copy of. It's impossible, you know. So I'll add just a little bit of ultramarine there, and I might just add a touch of ultramarine up there. And then I come down and I'm getting towards, I can always go back into that part, but at the moment I'm thinking about this intense violet. So I've added some blue there, and now I'm adding some violet. So I know that violet will stay fresh. And I will fill this area in as I go along, but at the moment I want to put the violet on so I can keep it fresh, and it's on a white area at the moment because it's that colour that we're going to have to keep our eye on. Right, what colour have I got in my hand now? Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine just here and there around that, not all the way around, don't do a halo around it, but that's it. And now some more green. I'm going to have a little bit lighter green now. Going to add this leaf green, and I'm putting it next to the blue, so I just need to tip that a little bit because it is running into the violet. Because I do want them to be next to one another, you know, because they do show each other off perfectly. This lovely leaf green, because it's very similar to yellow. You know, it's a yellowy, vibrant green, but I'm not ready to add any yellow yet. So I'm going to put a little bit of that green up there. And I know when it hits that blue, it'll just make a different green. So that's fine. But I don't want it, that's ran into there, look, because the paper curled up. And I should have talked about the paper, shouldn't I? It's £300, Saunders Waterford. With a knot surface. So what I didn't want to happen, because that curled up, it's never mind. I've been lucky, it looks okay, but you know, you're not normally that lucky. Let's put a bit of the lunar blue down there to create some depth at the bottom.
Would you sometimes consider taping it down so that it held the paper down? Or
yeah, you don't.
I guess you wouldn't be able to tip it then, would you? You wouldn't be able to.
No, and this is the thickest you can get really in normal watercolour terms. So I don't normally have to tape it down. I think it's, I don't know what it is today, but anyway, let's add some more violet there. I've washed some of that away.
Yeah, Jacqueline's went bobbly when she applied the water as well.
Yeah. So I'm just smoothing out now and breaking up that area there. I mean, most people work on £140 paper, you know, and this is double that. This is £300. So what I always use, but they do vary slightly. But if we just poke it in the middle like that, should be okay. So this is a base for when we add the other colours, you know, the brighter pink, and we pick out some leaves and stuff. A little bit of blue to that, that's it. That's made it safe now. And I'm just now getting a clean brush, a bit thicker brush, and making the paint do what I want it to do now. It's still wet enough for me to manipulate it and move it around. And then I'm going to turn it round like that. And now, while it's still wet, we've got to just wet the sky area and just catch the very top. Of that distant hillside there to give us a lovely soft edge. and then turn it back round again. So that's worked well. That nice soft edge. I'll just add a little bit of green there. Now, if for some reason, you know, you wasn't happy with the colour that's up there, you've still got time to add some more colour up there if you wanted to. If you like, mine's quite turquoise, I quite like it, but I will add a little bit more lunar blue, something like that, and just smooth that. Or I could have, you know, a little bit of olive green up there as well and blend that in. Because the paper's still nice and wet, we can do that. So I'll leave that at that. I've got quite a few hard edges here. So because we're working so wet, you've got time to do what I'm doing now and think, oh yeah, I'll carry that down a bit there. And if you like mine, is, you know, it's gone a little bit into the green. What you can do if that happens, is add a tiny bit of pink into it. We will be using pink a bit later. I might just add a little bit of that in there now. And that kind of cheers it up again. And if you want to get to know, you know, how to put your colours on, just get a scrap piece of paper when you're not doing anything at home and have a little practice, you know, at what colours do when they meet each other. I've got a book full of just colour combinations and what colours, I make a note of them and what I've put on, and then I can look through it. I'll just get it. This is just a little one, it's not my main one, but look, they're all colour combinations and I write down what they are. And some I like and some I don't. Some I might think, oh, like that, how that's turned out. What was that? So I'll have another look. And it's really good. You get to know your colours a lot better by doing something like this. Ready for your main paintings, you know.
I guess like a fine artist might have a sketchbook of different scenes that they've seen. You're using it to capture the colour combinations that you might use in a painting.
Yes, I am, because we all have so many colours. You know, I must have 100 tubes of paint. And you know, it's like if you've got a hobby, everything that comes out, you know, I'll have one of those, I'll try that, you know. And you forget sometimes what you've got. So it's a good way of a reference, you know, of those colours. And I mean, I found sap green the other day, and that's such an old colour. It's been out donkey's years. And it was in, you know, when I first started painting, everyone used sap green, and I've not used it for years. And I put it with tropical phthalo blue. It was lovely and vibrant colour. So I'm using that again now. And that's it there, actually. Anyway, so that's just a good idea.
That's a good idea. Rosemary said that colour mix book is a great idea. So I think you might have inspired Rosemary Clark there.
Yeah. Well, when we're doing one on sketchbooks, John, we're doing one, aren't we, in a few weeks?
So in a couple of weeks' time, we're doing an arty class special, and it's called a sketchbook special, and we're going to be visiting 4 professional artists around the world, Jane being one of them, and we're going to actually ask them to share their sketchbooks or their colour mix books with us. So it'll be a really fascinating insight all around the world of how different professional artists with different styles, all watercolour artists, use their sketchbooks just to kind of inform them on what they're about to paint. So yeah, highly recommend that. That was a good plug, Jane. Thank you.
Yes, so you will see my other book then, what I've got full of, and it's laid out really lovely. It's I feel, you know, it ought to be published because it's such a lovely book. And I've also got one full of textures, just the same, a really big chunky one. So that's what I shall be showing in my sketchbooks, because I don't do a lot of sketching. I do more diving straight in with the colours and making something out of it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So have we all got the paint on now? Anyone need any more time?
I don't use the poll feature in these arty
Oh,
classes
don't we?
anymore. Just
No.
no, just because we have very limited
Yeah.
time. So I think now what you might want to do, we could pause here because obviously this was the wettest point, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
think we should just pause and just have a chat about your workshop at this point,
I was just going to say just
or
one more
do you
little
want to do
thing,
one
John.
more thing? Okay.
Yeah, with the pink, because it's been
Okay.
drying a little while now. I'm just going to spatter some pink on. Some of this opera rose, which is really, really vibrant pink. And I'm not painting it on, I'm spattering it on. I'm not bothered where it goes. You know, it'll all add up to a really nice painting, hopefully. So, and we will go back to using that pink as well a little bit later on. But I just wanted to get that on before we had so it's got a chance to dry before we paint the cow parsley and everything. Okay. So yes, I can talk, do that now then, what you said, John.
Perfect. So how are you enjoying it? Are you all messy? Have you got all your paints everywhere? If you are watching on YouTube, we'd really appreciate you pressing the thumbs up button. This then just ensures that YouTube recommends this class to more people across the internet, helping us spread the benefits of creativity. So thank you if you wouldn't mind doing that. In addition to our free 45-minute arty classes on Tuesdays, we also host special 1-hour arty events on Thursdays, for which we charge a small fee to join live. Or you can attend for free if you're one of our patrons. This Thursday we're hosting a figurative painter called Rhino Swart live from South Africa. I'd highly recommend you joining us, and obviously in a week or so's time we're going to be doing this special sketchbook arty class special as well. But putting these arty classes to one side, the real magic source of what we provide, and what I personally believe is the most effective way of elevating your art skills to the next level, is our full 2 to 3 hour workshop webinars. So these events have restricted numbers, making them more exclusive and immersive. You also get to speak directly to the artist, which we don't do in these art classes because there's just so many people watching, and it means then that you pick up a lot more of their tips and tricks, and we go down little, sometimes Jane might, for example, bring another piece of paper and show you what she's talking about there. So there's lots of little sidelines that we go down as well. The price to attend is just £38 or $50, which works out at just over £12 or $17 an hour. So it really is good value. We'll be hosting Jane's next full workshop next Thursday, I think, on the 11th of February, and it'll be at 3:30 p.m. UK time, so about an hour and a half later than we started this one. So it's a little bit better for some of you in the US and everything. So what are you planning on doing for your workshop next week, Jane?
Well, I'm doing this lovely Primula painting. If you can just zoom in on it, John.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Yeah. It's called A Bank of Primroses, and this is the photograph I used. I took this photograph a few years ago. It's at a place, a National Trust place called Court Park, which is like 5-10 minutes from where we live. And there's one area it's always full of primroses. Did I say bank of snowdrops just? Or bank of primroses?
I think you might have said snowdrops, but
yeah, anyway, I mean bank of primroses. And they do have snowdrops as well in one area that is fantastic. But anyway, and I thought to myself, I took the photograph and I took several, and I think what a lot of artists struggle with is, right, I've got this lovely photograph, I feel inspired to paint, but how do I start? How do I go about it? What do I leave out? What do I put in? What colours do I use? And how can I show all these, when you've got, say, a bank of primroses like this or any other flowers, you can't paint in each individual one. You've got to give an impression of them. And you can do that with colour. And that's why on this painting, you'll see, all this area here is yellow, but there's no primroses on it. But because I've got a few on, it gives the impression that the bank's full of them. And then if you just look at the photograph there, look, I thought, well, if I stick to those colours, I've got brown, I've got quite a dull green, the odd bit of yellow. How can we make the colours interesting? And so that's another thing that I'll show you how to do on the day. And I added a little bit of warmth in the background as well. I mean, I never paint the exact photograph. I always just use it as a guide.
Yeah.
And so the different colours we'll be using, you know, are on the list. And there's just a little bit of ink, but they're mainly, it's nothing to buy specially, you know, just, I mean, I put Van Dyke brown down, you know, you can just use burnt umber or whatever brown you've got. Please don't go buying anything especially, you know, and I'll show you how, you know, same thing again with this painting. It's the soft edges that go back, the harder edges that come forward, and this main tree. And so they're sharper and that's softer, and therefore it's pushing it back.
Yeah.
And
yeah. No, that's brilliant.
I thought it was a lovely spring painting.
Yeah, no, it's really lovely. And the nice thing about Jane's workshops, and we've done a few of them now, that they're so relaxing. You learn loads, but in a really nice, relaxing environment. Jane puts things across so well and just puts you at ease. I think Jane could do a meditation tape sometime, Jane. So if you are interested in joining us, I'm pleased to say that we're going to be launching a hot ticket right now that gives you 10% off for the next hour only. So let me just share my screen with you and I'll show you exactly how you can book Jane's workshop. So you visit our website, Shopkeep Arty. Here it is. You click on Arty classes and then the upcoming live events, which is just there. Then you scroll down through all the upcoming events that are coming up and you'll see Jane's just here. It says workshop. You click on there and it gives you the page. This is a normal page that we have that shows you all the materials and the materials listed at the bottom here. And then if you're interested in that workshop, scroll up to the top, and at the top there's a link, book your webinar ticket. You click that and it will go through to Jane's shop. You'll see the video that you can pre-order if you can't make the thing, or the webinar. And the video, there's two prices, the full video price, but also a much discounted price if you've paid to attend the live webinar. So if we go back to that homepage, and what I'll do now is I'll launch the hot ticket. Oh, missed it. Oh, just a bit delayed. There's the hot ticket. There's Jane on fire. Look, Jane, you're on fire. And,
wow.
And so this is the hot ticket, and it gives you 10% off the live webinar or the live webinar and the video. So you can purchase that, and that's going to be open for the next hour. Once we've done the video, and if you did pre-order the video, you can then visit our video library, which is on our website, and you'll be able to scroll down and see Jane's will be on there. We do it in date order, but you can list it by artist or whatever, and you can just watch it there. And obviously if you're one of our patrons, depending on what level you are, once we archive that, you'll be able to watch that there as well. If you're interested in investigating about being one of our patrons, by all means go to our website. If you click patrons, there's a little video of me in a lumberjack shirt that you can watch kind of explaining it, and then it just kind of shows you how that works there too. Brilliant. So let's head back now for part 2 of the Arty class, and hopefully things will have dried a bit and we'll be able to put on the next layer. So Jane, what are we working on now?
Well, I've just popped and blasted this with the hairdryer while you were talking, John.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it is drying. Normally I would do some more of the purple spattering and stuff and leaves before I do the cow parsley, but I think we'll do the cow parsley first.
Okay.
And we're doing that in white ink. And I always tip some, it's white acrylic ink. It's the most white thing you can buy, I think. And it's lovely and thin, so you can get some thin lines with it. And that's why I always use it for any white cow parsley, white centres in flowers or stamens or whatever, rather than mask out. If I tried to mask out all these cow parsley that I've done, it would be clumsy, and you can't use masking fluid. Well, I can't anyway, to get a real clean line finish. And also it leaves such a hard edge when you fetch it off that I just don't like masking fluid much at all, and I don't use it unless I really, really have to. So the cow parsley, we've got to keep it really simple, and I want you to just get your brush and kind of just flick like that, okay? Do some quick marks, and then they look more casual and looser. So you can do that, and then there's things that come off to form the top of the cow parsley all come from one point, just there. Okay, they don't come like that. You know, they all come from one centre point like that. Then we just do a few little scribbly bits like that, and that's all we're doing, but in white ink. And also, you know, in between the cow parsley, I might just put another little flick of white that just sits them into the ground, rather than just having, say, 8 all standing there perfectly. So we've got to think where we're putting them as well. You know, I don't want one straight up smack in the middle there like that. So I'm going to start at this side because I'm working this way. So it's no good starting over this side, else my hand will be in it when I get over there. And also hit and miss with some of the stalks as well. So we'll start just there like that. Oh, and this is a rigger, by the way, a size 0, really fine brush that I would suggest everyone has in the kit, because they're brilliant and they last forever.
Annette Hill asked a nice question. I love this style of art, she says. How did you find your style?
Oh, crikey. I think it's just admiring other artists' work when you first start off and think, oh, I'd like to do something like that, you know. And then I think some of yourself comes out in it, you know, once you get painting. Because I've tried to not, sometimes when I paint something, I think, why does it always turn out like that? You know, certain aspects of a painting, and I think it's just you, how you know, it's just you, how it comes out. You can't do much about it. So eventually, once you've been painting for quite a while and experimenting and all that, and you, especially when you get to paint wet in wet, you don't have a lot of control, and it just kind of happens, you know. It's hard to explain. I don't know.
I like these deep and meaningful questions.
Yeah. But I mean, colour's my main thing. I just love colour and looseness, you know. And my new book, I'm going to be even looser. So that's all I'm saying.
You can't get much looser, can you, Jane?
Can't say the word, but
now someone made a comment that they can't find the Jane on Fire one, and although I just showed you me launching it, I'd forgotten to launch it on the actual shop, but it is on there now. It is on there now. So if you are interested, Jane is on fire on her shop now.
Okay, so I'm just working around and put 1 or 2 in front of the other ones, you know, don't have them all separate, you know, have one coming from behind some others. And and at different heights like that. And I think the quicker you do it, the looser, without thinking about it too much, the looser painting you'll have. And when I said I sometimes do a few white strokes in between, that's what I mean. It just sits them into the ground properly, and we'll have one there. I mean, if you do ever want something in the middle, or you can, but tilt it one way, if you know what I mean, and then it doesn't look like it's in the middle. All these little tricks, you see. It's the same if you start painting a tree and think, oh God, I've put it straight in the middle. Just veer it off a bit, and so it's a crooked trunk, and you can kind of get away with it.
So Brenda said that hers is still wet. Shall I wait until it's dry? And I think probably yes, Brenda.
Yeah.
But what you can do after this, if you just watch what Jane does, you can always go to YouTube after this event and you'll be able to rewind the live show. So you'll be able to come back to this point. So that's probably the best thing to do. So be involved in it now. Sit back, grab your cup of tea.
But you can see how well this white ink is showing up, can't you, on these darker colours? And that's another reason we went dark at the bottom with this nice deep purple to show off the cow parsley. You know, the deeper you had it down there, the better, you know, it'll show the cow parsley off. So.
Yeah.
Oh, we've just gone all dull here now, as though it's going to rain.
Yeah, same here actually.
Yeah.
Trina asked, if we're using white gouache, is it advisable to use straight from the tube or as thin as bit?
The thing is, Trina, it would be a little bit thick then, you know, to get any. You could try it, but you wouldn't get very fine lines, you know, straight from the tube.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you invest in one of these acrylic inks, I think you'd find it very useful for lots of things, like I say, stamens and in flowers. And I mean, one thing I'd like to see when you put yours on the Facebook page, can anyone think of any other ideas of flowers? You could paint some white daisies, you know, with little yellow centres. You know, use your imagination, and I'd like to see some variations on this.
Mary Jane has asked, will you be using granulating fluid in your workshop?
Yes, definitely. I use
a lot of that, don't you?
Yeah, nearly all the time. And but because I didn't use any ink today, any ink in the background, that's when I use the granulating medium. I didn't need it today, and I thought, well, that's good because some people don't always have it. But yes, definitely.
And Kieran Wong said, is your paper completely dry? And I think it is, isn't it? Because
Yes.
you dried it with a hairdryer over the break.
Yeah, I did, yeah. Okay, so once that's completed, I'm going to go back to the pink. And with my other rigger, another fine rigger, just painting a few
Louise said buttercups, butterflies.
Yeah,
could be interesting.
Fantastic. And these are just suggestions of flowers, no particular flower, just shapes, and they're just marks, really, you know. But you still get the effect. Just
so I wanted to have a few more challenging questions, and we've got one from Ivana here. So if you were to apply the same style to a cityscape, how do you suggest that she should approach the less organic shapes?
That really is a tricky one. Oh gosh!
Come on, Jane. Come on.
Well, if I was doing a cityscape, I would do a background like this of the colours that I saw, and then I would work back into it and pick out just several windows, several roof lines. You know, just I wouldn't do a complete drawing come painting of the exact thing I was seeing. I'd just pick elements out of it. But I don't really do cityscapes.
No.
You know, so you'd have to trial and error that one, I think.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just finding another brush. This little one, and we'll do some of the purple. This intense violet, it's okay, but I prefer to mix my own, to be honest. So I'll have a little bit of, that's nice. So a few on top of the purple I'll do. as well as in other, because if I put this purple now on top of that really yellowy green there, it won't, because that colour's underneath, it'll give a muddy colour still, like when they meet on the paper. So best to stick to over painting on pink areas or blue areas with the purple, not actually on the that bright green there. So what we need to do as well, we'll have a little bit of spattering, and we need some leaf shapes, don't we? I'll do some leaf shapes first.
Somebody's asked, when do you expect the new book to be available, Jane?
It's not available till next year, the second half of next year, I'm afraid.
Oh, gosh.
I know. Still writing it anyway. And then, you know, it's about a 2-year job, really.
It's amazing,
because,
isn't it?
Yeah, the way it has to go away to be printed, and then, you know, you spend time with your editor under normal circumstances. I don't know what'll happen. I've only had Zoom meetings with him. Normally I'd go to the publishers and spend time with him. And then when you do the step-by-step projects, I spend a week with him, and, you know, and a photographer filming them. So I just hope by the time it's my turn to get to that stage, things will be a little bit different.
Oh, I'm sure they will be by then.
I hope so.
I mean, oh my God, a year away.
Yeah. I think it'd have to be all completely filmed and ready by February, next February. So before it goes off to be printed, and then the designed, you know, all the materials there, all your paintings, all your writing, but then the team at Search Press will design it. You kind of have a layout, what goes where, but then they use the photographs, like they'll take a real close up of a textured bit, and it's putting it all on the pages, like faded away in the background, and you know how they do the books. It's
Now, I'm sorry to say this, but we are sort of coming up to time, Jane.
Okay,
We've had a lot of questions about how you would frame something like this, or there's been quite a few about how you splatter. Now, we've covered the splattering techniques quite a lot in your workshops in the previous things, and I would, you know, this 45 minutes is really difficult to cover all these different things. And all I would say is, if you do want to get more into all these different techniques and everything, the workshop definitely, either a previous workshop that Jane might have done, or, you know, we cover a lot of those things, because as you can see, we were starting to go down editing conversation there, and we can do all that in a workshop because we have much more time. So maybe a few little guides on the splattering, Jane, as a final.
Yeah,
doing a few bits.
I usually use a palette knife, but I can't see it anywhere, so I'm just tapping the top of my brush, and this lovely leaf green shows up really nice on top of the purpley colour, because it's quite opaque. And you know, you can see how quickly I've done it, but I will pop them out round it. Let's have a look. And it needs finishing off and tidying up a little bit, but yeah, it's that's a little bit heavy there. I'm not very happy with that bit there, but you know, I can probably.
And Fran said, where do you get your cutout mounts from? And I think I know the answer to that.